Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to our keynote speaker for the day, my commissioner, Ms. Lisa Cupid.
It's an honor to be here, and I can't begin to tell you how serendipitous this is, for it to be Valentine's Day and for Cupid to be with you. And not just one Cupid, but two Cupids. So I have to acknowledge Craig. Thank you so much for being here today. And if you can stand and be honored, because nobody serves in this type of role alone. Michael Owens went through my bio, and yes, at some point in time I was an engineer, I was all these other things, and I never ever saw myself in being in public service. I never saw myself, even as I got to serve in the public sector, as serving as an elected official. But go back about 10 or so years, I happen to have had jury duty on no other than Valentine's Day. Here in Cobb County, I was getting a post-bac degree. I decided I'm going to move away from engineering. My father used to always call me an engine far, so I was just living up to what his expectations were. He used to say, I can't believe somebody would go to class with makeup and jewelry on. You can't be an engineer, you're an engine far. So that's where that joke comes from. So he saw it coming. I wasn't going to stay in that field too long and decided to go to school for English. And all of a sudden, I got this jury duty notice on Valentine's Day. And I walk into the room. I don't remember who the judge was. I was not engaged in anything political in Cobb County at that time, nothing civic, just trying to go to school. And as soon as I walk in, the judge says, guess what? Cupid has arrived. And everybody just starts cracking up in the jury room. But what it did is it broke the ice for me to meet my next employer. I happen to have met a gentleman named Stephen Lofton. I don't know how many of you know him, but he was the director of the Regional Business Coalition, which is an umbrella organization for 15 chambers of commerce here. And he and I had jury numbers that were back to back. So we just struck up conversation. I don't know what I said or what I did, because as I have all these papers, I'm sitting there in jury duty, I'm fumbling papers, I'm trying to do my schoolwork. And at the end of 2 days, he comes up to me and he says, I have an assistant position available and I want to know if you would be interested. Well, I wasn't working, I was in school, my husband was holding down the fort. In my mind, I'm just like, sure, I will. Little did I know just the level of exposure that I would get to civic life from being there on Valentine's Day. The Regional Business Coalition was housed in the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, which at that time sat over Centennial Olympic Park. I interviewed with Stephen, and his office sat over the park. And we talked. He says, "Oh, get back with me." He calls me the next day. He makes a hire. I go from being a student to having an office sitting right over, my own office sitting right over Centennial Olympic Park. So amazing things can happen on Valentine's Day. And I'm wishing such serendipity will come your way. Whether or not it's you having a love and a heart for District 4, or if there's somebody who's truly in need of a love connection on Valentine's Day, I must say, since you have a couple of Cupids here, I'm praying that that happens for you too. We have a number of wonderful stakeholders in our community. I wanted to acknowledge those who are in the room, from our business leaders who are here. You don't have to be here. There are a lot of people who are in business who don't necessarily take time to join a business association, to join a chamber, but you see value in that and in those relationships, so thank you for being here. Our community leaders, we do so much work together out there. For you to take your time out to come here, this state of the city, and even pay money to do it when you know you can just give me a call, I thank you for that. Our board appointees who volunteer and serve tirelessly, giving of themselves to the work of this county. No one here does that alone. For those of you who are here today, thank you. To our constituents, again, who are here, who usually have the opportunity to hear me present this in our community, thank you for being here. We will do this again. I usually like to do these with 2 of these in the day, so that I present to the business community in the morning, and then I provide a free one to constituents in the afternoon. It didn't quite work out that way, but we will do this again. to our community stakeholders. We have members here who are from our schools who are here today. I'm completely honored that you would take the time out to be here because I know that it's a delicate work that you do every day. So I appreciate you being here and hearing the state of this district. My office assistants, who I can do nothing without, Marva Harris, Andrea Ashmore, just thank you for all that you do to serve the constituency tirelessly and to serve me in the midst of all the fray that goes on with what we try to do in our office. And lastly, the county administration and staff. I know I saw Jason here. I still want to call out Dana, even though he's gone to the other side, Dana. But I'm sure I recognize public safety. But thank you for all that you do. I see our public services director. I see our senior services interim director in the back of the room. Thank you so much for being here today. This past year, 3 people passed on, but who gave to this community here in District 4 and in Cobb County, and I would like for us to acknowledge their work here. Our first is businessman Michael Dorsey. He had a business called DJ Diva Beauty Outlet, which was at Hicks and Austell Road, and actually I used to go there not just to see a business owner, but to actually pick up some beauty products. And one thing that he did not like was when I walked in his store, my hair was not done. So he actually orchestrated me meeting my next hairdresser just by going there. But it was funny, I have that personal story, and at his funeral, so many members of the community had personal stories of how he hired young people from the community to come work a cash register. Even if they had no experience, he just wanted to help anyone who he could. And it's sad, I think he was gone too soon, but he certainly put life in perspective for many of us. The next one is John Collar. I met John Collar through service in South Cobb Rotary, and for those of you who've been involved in the political or civic arena in Cobb County for some time, John Collar was a former mayor of the city of Austell in the 80s. And if you truly knew John Collar, you knew that he was not only a politician by day, but he was a comedian by night. He just always had jokes, always willing to make you smile, and I had become so busy in my role, I could not always make it to South Cobb Rotary. And when I heard of his passing, it just struck me, again, just how busy we can get in doing the day-to-day things and not realize life is not only happening, but life can be passing before us. So please, as you celebrate love on Valentine's Day, just know that we all are human as we come together and do this work, and we all are called for a period of time. Next, we have Attorney John Moore. This one gripped me. I knew he was not doing well. I work closely with John when it comes to land use and zoning. He and I had a very rough start when I was a citizen here in the South Cobb area trying to advocate for our community, and he was an attorney here trying to move zoning through the county. But boy, he and I ended up working well together on a number of issues where we actually ended up bringing community in the way that I wanted to be brought in as a citizen. He and I actually worked together to engage communities. Even from one day, there was a cell phone tower that was coming in to the Hicks area, and John got his boots on and I got my boots on, and we went out to, if any of you know GB's farm off of Hurt Road, and we got up there and did a balloon test, and the community came out with us, and all of them were in opposition to this. But actually, after we put that balloon up and it went in the air, everybody walked around, we went and drove around, and they said, we think this could work. We don't even think we're gonna see it. And that was a win, because sometimes we think that business, because they need to push things through in a quick manner, and residents are looking for things for the long term, because they're there looking at things differently, that we can't stop and take time to work together. And I'm telling you, when we came together and found out we could all be on the same page by taking just a moment to check all of our interests, both John and I walked away feeling like winners. And whenever we had a zoning case after that, I just felt we were a team, even though you're not supposed to be a team, you're supposed to, have opposite sides, but I just felt we're all in this together. We are all working for the best of Cobb, and it includes our citizens, it includes our businesses, it includes the development community. So I'm going to try to go quickly through and not be the engineer today, because I do want to go through every slide, and I'm going to try to do my best to speak from my heart, because a lot of you got an opportunity to see that who were present at today's, at this week's Board of Commissioners meeting, and you got a chance to see the depth of where I come from when I come to every Board of Commissioners meeting, and thinking about those who have our challenges that so many of us just cannot relate to because of the way that we live, because of the way that we are raised. But yet, I feel as a commissioner, I am called to serve anyone, regardless of their capacity. So I want to try to not be so pedagogical and trying to teach and explain, and I'm going to try to just speak from my heart today, because I believe that we have some things of the heart to address here in District 4. Just a brief snapshot of District 4. Most of you should know it, but I see we have a lot of people who may not necessarily be familiar with this area. This is the southwest portion of Cobb County. We are quite proximate to the city of Atlanta. Downtown Atlanta, about 10 minutes, but literally in 5 minutes, I could be in the city of Atlanta based on where I live in South Cobb. We are a community that has diverse land uses. Many people typify South Cobb to be just this really half-mile stretch or 1 mile stretch along Riverside Parkway, formerly Six Flags Drive. We have some very rural communities that are in District 4. I mentioned GB's Farm in Smyrna, but you can go to the property that we just acquired, which is Wallace Park at Stout Farm, all the way in Powder Springs, and we just acquired about 200 acres of open land there, and we're trying to complete an equestrian park there. So I just want to communicate that not only is Cobb County diverse in land uses, but so is District 4. We do tend to have more affordable land values. We have not developed as the other areas of Cobb County has. I think that's for a myriad of reasons. I think one of those reasons is that Cobb County, South Cobb, actually developed quickly when the city of Atlanta was becoming integrated. So a lot of people moved here and we developed very quickly, but what did we not have that we have in effect now that kind of normalizes our land use? We did not have land use and zoning. So people could just come in, build quickly, there's no real formal pattern, and it's great when you have a hotbed of development and you have great retail uses. I understand people from the city of Atlanta used to come and shop in Mableton to come to all the retail that was here. But over time, as land use and zoning codes became a part of how we develop here, not only in the state but nationally, District 4 started to look a little less hot. And today we are challenged by some of the older developments, by some of the myriad of development that we have along our main corridors without having those protections in place. So it's not just, we're just not just fighting some of the socioeconomic issues that you see, we are fighting generational land development issues here in District 4. Moving on, population, yes, we are diverse in race. The last census that was taken in 2010 showed us being about 45% white, 45% black, the rest is other. And our ethnicity and income is also quite diverse, as it is even in Cobb. But here, I've noticed in the district we have a very strong African population, a very strong Caribbean population, certainly a very strong Hispanic and Spanish-speaking population. And we have diversity of income. I can go to places in the district where their home's over $1 million, and then I could go to places where you hear sob stories like what took place at our Board of Commissioners meeting on Tuesday. And just to be somewhat anecdotal, when my husband moved here, and I moved here in 2002, we decided, even though we've lived in the Cumberland area, I lived with my parents in the East Cobb area, he decided, being the frugal Craig Cupid that he is, I call him Craig Ramsey. If you ever heard of Dave Ramsey, he's not Craig Cupid, he's Craig Ramsey. But he decided we're gonna live off of one income. So we were going to save, we were both engineers, but we're going to save one engineering income and we're going to live off of one engineering income. So we looked around all of I-285 to see how we can get a house off of one income and be as close to work as possible. Where do we find the best home for our value? In the Six Flags area. So we moved here in a starter home. We loved our community, and we see all the grandiose development of Cobb. We were engineers, now we're both attorneys. We've kind of moved up in income, we've moved up in our work. We're exposed to a lot of things which we weren't before. But I remember when I was campaigning for commissioner, and I invited a gentleman that lived in Six Flags to come to my home because I left some campaign materials, and he became a close family friend to not only me, but my parents. And one time I had visited him in his apartment in Six Flags, and then he came and visited me. And I'm telling you, we were frugal. We did not only have a frugal home, we had furniture that my parents raised me and my sister with in our home. And when he walked into my home, he said, "Lisa, I didn't know you were rich." That's what his perspective was by some of the living conditions that we have here in District 4, and it absolutely humbled me. And every day when we do get invited to do some things, my husband's now a partner at his law firm, and we do those partnerish type things, and you're lavished, and you get to meet CEOs of businesses and be in their midst, and you wonder, what would life be like? You know, my parents who are from another country, who came here, who worked hard, and, you know, they live in nice circumstances, and my children ask me, why can't we live in a house like Papa and Grandma? And I think about those citizens that walk into my house and think I'm rich. And I have to count my blessings. And I realize I'm here too for an appointed time. And there are some things that I would not advocate vigorously for if I did not hear gunshots outside of my house at night like they did. You know, we grew up, my sister and I, in Southfield, Michigan, and people used to talk about Detroit and gunshots. I was suburban life, we didn't know anything about it. Never thought I'd move to a place where this could go on a bi-weekly, monthly basis. And my work here, maybe I might look at another house, maybe I might inch Cupid to do that. If I could go even 1 month without hearing that, I might even think about it. But until then, I'm in the work to help this community here, because somebody's got to see and feel the frustrations that they feel, to come out and advocate for them as anybody of you would expect to advocate for them. I digress. Median household income here in District 4 is lower than Cobb County. It's at $56,000, which is higher than the state average, which is at $52,000, but it's lower than Cobb County. So this is what frustrates me, because I think sometimes it's not just economic for reasons why people don't come move to Cobb County, or South Cobb. Something else has got to be going on when I see development going in other areas that don't have the strength of economy that we have with our area median income. I haven't quite gotten down to it in a way that I want to articulate and really absorb, but I just feel that we've got to find some people who think outside the box. One person who thought outside the box for not only South Cobb and Mableton, but also for South Fulton is John Wieland. To put in homes, to think that there could be communities of color, that people could actually afford certain homes and actually move there. If there are any developers in the house, I need for you to know, I would love to still live in the Six Flags area and move someplace else where my kids could actually play in their backyard. But somebody has got to think differently, and that makes me look over here to our former Fulton County Commissioner. We have Michael Hightower, who's here because I know he helped to orchestrate them looking in the South Fulton area. So Michael, thank you for your presence here today. Education levels, we have an educated population. In fact, 70% of our population here in the district has bachelor's degrees. 70% of our working age population. We have improving test scores and graduation rates for our schools. It's not always reflected in the overall data that you see. Some strong programs. to support education through our magnet program. So very quickly, we're very accessible to the interstate. Our number one industry here in Cobb, when I talk to the ARC, is not necessarily the industrial base, even though it's the strength of Cobb County here. Our number one industry here in Cobb County is in the medical service arena. And you observe that when you go to the to East-West Connector and Alstow Road, and you see all of the service providers that are there. We have also significant tourism assets. Being right here, we think our number one industry has got to be Six Flags. But again, it's the medical service industry, but Six Flags, I think, not only holds down the tourism of Cobb County, but also the southeast region. It is a top attraction. Moving on, we have commercial development that's somewhat spotty. We do not have we don't have a big mall, but we do have newer, larger retail development that you will see on East-West Connector. That really is our commercial corridor for the district, where you'll see new development, new restaurants come in. And we have newer and moderately aged neighborhood shopping centers and industrial sites that are on Floyd Road and Veterans Memorial, and certainly in Powder Springs as you go towards Macklin Road and Powder Springs, and also on Powder Springs Road as you go towards the city of Marietta, if you look at where Powder Springs meets Macklin. But we also can see we have countless aging retail properties that are here in the district that we're working hard to turn over and to showcase to prospective businesses. One thing I love are these beautiful historic areas that we have in the district. I remember when I first traveled to downtown Austell and downtown Powder Springs, I didn't even know that this was District 4, that this was a part of what was considered South Cobb. And this was prior to me serving on our board, but we have some beautiful, quaint areas that are also points of attraction in District 4, but we also have the contrast of that with disproportionate automotive related services that are just aging along Veterans Memorial that you have to traverse before you get there. So we have some opportunity to see how do we best support all types of retail and all types of commerce here in Cobb, but not do it in a way where it hinders the possibility for complete communities to be created. Because when you have this, it's very hard to attract a new grocer or a new bank and all of those other things that are just a part of living. If you go out to the northwest area of District 4, again, that's as you approach Macklin, going towards C.H. James and Hiram, you just have more sparse development. I'm not going to talk a lot about our industrial development, but a lot of it is concentrated here south of I-20. So just moving on to economic development, I'm going to be very brief. We're very excited about something that took place last year. It came in the works even the year before. We've been talking about how to better support economic development. I don't think Michael Hughes could be here today, but there was a time where when we talked about economic development in Cobb County, he was basically it. I mean, he was supported by an administrative assistant. There was someone in his office who helped with grants, but for a county that had 700,000 people, he was it. So you can imagine me with all my zeal and interest for developing District 4 coming to him, and we have these sexy big projects coming in from the chamber, and we're saying, Michael, we need you to get a grocery store. We need to improve this retail site. And he's like, but Lisa, I'm about to bring in 200 jobs here. And overall, on a macro basis, that is wonderful for Cobb County, but until we are appropriately staffed, it's just very difficult to look at some of the micro issues that could be supported by having strong economic development. I see Dessa Archibald with Georgia Power here because I want to thank Georgia Power because as we were trying to determine how we were going to move forward, Georgia Power took time to have a workshop with businesses because we didn't know what we were going to do before that redevelopment took place. So I just invited businesses here in District 4. I said, let's just get in a room and let's just talk and see what we can do. Next thing you know, the next year, we made this realignment. And I'm just grateful that that took place and the county stepped up. Where our realignment alignment now has economic development and community development now working in the same footprint. So Michael Hughes is now the interim director for both of those agencies. One thing that also I'm greatly appreciative of, and Dana helped to move forward, was our business concierge program. When I first came in, we had a lot of small businesses that saw me when there was an issue. You know, everybody said, we want businesses, we don't need government, and we want you to move forward in any way that you can. But until there's a land use issue, or until you can't figure out how to get that sign, or there's something going on, that's where I see the business. And I'm wondering, how did you purchase that property and get to this point, and you didn't know all of these things had to occur? And just the way that our community development department was set up, it has different windows, and you go to the window where you think you need help, and you hope that you have someone there that's going to tell you to go to these other windows to get services, but that is not always necessarily the case. But now when you walk in there, in that room, there's someone that sits close to that door, and she's there to answer anyone's questions, and staff is helping to make sure that people get to where they need to go. And in fact, I have a lot less of those smaller business meetings than I used to. So thank you, Dana, and I also see Jason back there for helping to facilitate that. We also have our business incentive program through the county, which provides incentives not only for new businesses, but for existing businesses that are expanding. And for persons who want to start small businesses here in the county, there are incentives available if you have gone through an entrepreneurial educational program. Also, we have a facade improvement program through our community development block grant. I'm sorry, I speak in alphabet soup sometimes. That's a government program. And for those properties that are in our aging corridors, you can actually come to the county for a low-interest loan to improve the facade, and you'll have a longer time period to pay back the payment for it. So if there's anyone here who has property, who's interested in property, please take advantage of this program, because I don't think we've had any bites yet, have we? We've had one. And how long have you been doing this? A little over a year. So go out, help spread the word, business community. One thing that I'm very grateful for is the restructuring of our water and service permitting fees, and that was championed by several commissioners. If you have a restaurant here in the county, it was very onerous to pay for sewer upfront before you got your business running, and you had actual patrons in to pay that high cost because you're paying to tap into our water system. They prorated it so that there's a less of an initial burden to businesses, and I've also seen them work with businesses where they can pay over time. I'm here primarily to talk to you about economic development because you're here with the business community, so I'm going to speed through this. Business licenses, they are going up in the district. Commercial permits, forgive me, I did skip 2017 because the way that we were aggregating economic development data, I just could not find that cross point to compare. But you can see that our permitting for economic development is improving. Our square footage, however, has been diminishing, and I think because we had a very hot year where we had some very large builds, but it certainly is not diminishing to the difference between 2016 and 2017. So I still think we're doing good in that arena. New large development, I'm happy that Empire is in the room, one of our big success stories for giving a boost to the District 4 area and providing opportunities for employment. Their relocation here from Fulton Industrial will bring 500 jobs, and they are in a very large footprint here of 600,000 square feet, and they made an investment of $52 million. I'm not touting that to say that the county did that. To me, I think it's important, though, to recognize our business contributions, because when a business invests in a community, that must mean that they have some level of confidence about that community, and that's what's important to me. Also, when you have business investments in a community, that shows residents that this is a stable community, because people, we come and go, businesses take us here and there, but those businesses that come in and invest to the tune of money like this show longevity. So I'm grateful that you're here today, and I'm grateful that you're here in South Cobb. Moving along, we have Mars Chocolate, which has a 600,000 square foot facility here with 20 new jobs, Riverside Business Center, and they're trying to get a tenant in a 174,000 square foot facility. We've had expansion of Dade Paper, Yancey, just down the street here. Wellstar Cobb celebrated 50 years this year, and has also expanded treatment for those with cancer and burns. Tourism, Cobb County's #1 economic driver, and our #1 economic driver for tourism here is Six Flags Theme Park. And every year since I've been here, since 2013, they've been expanding their park, and last year they boasted an economic impact of $372 million here in Cobb County. But people may not know some of these other assets that we have here. I used to be a Girl Scout. On my honor, I will try. We have a campground right here in Mableton, 200 acres. How many of you have been out there? It's a beautiful facility that I don't think many people know about. Mabel House Complex. And I should have put Mabel House Barnes Complex. Don't tell the governor that we left his name out of there. Without him, we would not have had that. It's a wonderful facility, and it's been having more concerts. With our SPLOST program, we're putting additional investment there. Jim Miller Park, we've invested to have a 41,000 square foot facility here, which can provide additional venue space here in Cobb County. Just going to move on. I just want to highlight just all of our assets. And I put parks in economic development because if you know anything about the sports arena or about recreation, people actually travel in for these type of events. If you're like me that have children that are involved in sports, you know, they travel across the state many times and they're bringing in their sweaty kids and they're bringing in those dollars to eat lunch and go to a hotel and all of that. Housing permits issued. We had been doing a great job in District 4. At one point in time, we were leading housing starts, and I don't know if we got so ahead of ourselves because I was touting the total value of housing development, but for 2018, that number has gone backwards. I know there's a lot of development, however, that we zoned this year, 55 cases, where there's a lot of property coming out of the ground and that's still in planning stages, so I'm hoping to see that number bounce back in 2019. There's something else that I think also happened to boost the numbers for 2016 and 2017, as those were the years we were getting out of the economic downturn, and we still had a lot of pipe farms in Cobb County. So a lot of the development you saw weren't necessarily new builds, but there were developers going into older properties. South Cobb Redevelopment Authority, we have L'Oreal here. I don't know if we have any other representation from there, but they've done a great job in marketing the acreage that they acquired off of Riverside Parkway. And if you came here via interstate, you also got to see their handiwork by way of the beautiful landscaping once you get off the Six Flags exit. And I've had friends who've traveled to Douglas County and to Alabama, and they say, Commissioner Cupid, you live off of Six Flags, right? And I said, yes. And they said, well, I don't know what's going on, but we like it. So even though there are people who have mixed feelings. I had one person, I would love to say this is all just a rosy picture today, but I'll just keep it real because I always do anyway. But he said, well, Lisa, isn't that just putting lipstick on a pig? Was what he thought. Well, if it makes the pig more attractive until it becomes something else, it just might be. So, we do what we can do. Do you not start? I mean, not all of us. I didn't grow up the prettiest belle in the ball, but at least I tried. We got to try somewhere. And this is our way of saying we see something different for us, right? So I'm grateful for the South Cobb Redevelopment Authority for investing in that. Community development, a couple of things that we initiated, and that public safety is hoping to address our burdensome properties that have a lot of crime. We developed an ordinance that gives them teeth to say, we've noticed your crime stats in these particular areas. You've got X amount of time to work with us to ameliorate these issues, and if not, we'll have a conversation with the DA's office about moving this towards condemnation. And they have been successful. The 3 properties that the residents spoke of at our Board of Commissioners meeting on Tuesday are actually in this process, and we're trying to get them to work with us. And in fact, they had so many issues on that property. Sometimes we have to go in with the hammer and say, this is what we are requiring of you. They volunteered to do it. They said, we will come in and do this. So I'm not going to say that they've been working with us in the best way that they can, but we're just trying to do everything we can to hold them accountable from a county perspective. We have 2 commercial sites that we have agreements in place, and we have a 4th additional apartment where this agreement is under consideration. We also have a community redevelopment incentive ordinance that was put in place after I gleaned what was going on in the city of Austell. This is a measure that will allow you to increase the taxes on a property, increase their millage, if that property has what we might refer to as a blighted property, and it's bringing down the value of that area. We can impose this ordinance for them to have to pay higher taxes unless they start investing towards that business, and sometimes that's a prompt. Code enforcement, there are rock stars of the district working. 43% of their actions have all been here in District 4, so while I know we're behind, the county is stepping up to do what they can, and they've increased their staff since, since 2013, they've increased in code enforcement staff. Community development, just trying to see opportunities to just increase housing standards and to work on affordable housing. Transportation, wonderful transportation projects that are in the works here. There's some handouts if you really want to know what's all that's going on. Immediately here in the Six Flags area, we will be realigning South Service Road that goes along the Wingate Hotel, that goes along the Epi Center. We'll be realigning that to actually go towards Word of Faith. That will help with the traffic flow there, so we could put a light there and manage traffic coming both out of the church and in this area here. And I think that will also help with the truck traffic, because you see people trying to go straight, trying to turn, and it's almost an impossibility. I'm looking at the back of the room, and I see the director of our Riverside Epi Center here today. Chris Boyd, if you don't mind raising your hand, and I'm remiss that I didn't see you before. Thank you for having us here today. Yes, please. One thing that I did not make a significant slide about, but is our transit opportunity here in Cobb County. The House bill that was passed just last year opens up significant opportunity for Cobb County to take advantage of making transit more robust. And there is almost a tale of 2 stories when it comes to transit here in Cobb County. There is a tale that believes that transit is for everything and all things poor, and promotes everything and all things under that have some suspicion of color. Where there's some people who see this is nothing but mobility and economic opportunity. This is getting people to work. And in fact, our consultant study last year showed that 70% of our riders of Cobb Community Transit, now, Cobb Link, are either going to work or school. That's it. And a lot of other ones that they poll are going to medical facilities, but these are people who are trying to be like everyone else here, get from point A to point B. And we just have had a limited perspective, I think, in how we funded it. Even how we refer to funding, we refer to it as a subsidy. As far as I'm concerned, everything we have in the county is a subsidy if somebody's not paying for it. You know, when I drive down the road, nobody's taking my $2.50 to pay for that asphalt that goes there. You know, but I just think people have just a different way of looking at transit than they look at other forms of mobility. I hate the buses. If I had a way, I would go from being a manufacturing engineer to an attorney to a development of buses, because I will put all those seats high so everybody can be seen when they're on the bus. If you've looked at our buses, when you go in, those seats are actually lower, so you can't see everybody who's sitting there. But people will say, I looked at that bus and I didn't see anybody. But Commissioner Cupid has yet to say, I've yet to look down that road and I didn't see anybody. What a waste of asphalt. You know, I'm serious, but I hear, what a waste of bus, what a waste of opportunity. Roads provide a network of opportunity for people to get from point A to point B. A bus is not a road, it takes advantage of them, but it provides a means for us to get people to work. Now, for the $2.50 that they pay and for the $17 million a year that we pay, it certainly pales in comparison to all of the economic and financial and public safety woes we would have if we did not get people to work. So that's my diatribe. Okay, moving on, public safety. Want to tout for our businesses here. Crime is down. In District 4, residential burglaries are down 31%. Entering autos are down 21%. Crimes against persons are down 12%. Our robberies are down 10.2%. I would like to say that this is just by chance or miracle, but I know those in public safety have been busting their behinds. And I see our police chief has come to our meeting. I didn't see you here before, but I just want to thank you and our leadership team here in the precinct for helping this be possible. Many of you know about the Empties BJ's on East-West Connector. Actually, our public safety has purchased that building, and that will become a new police training center with whistles. I mean, I saw the plans for it. This is not only going to be an asset for them, but I think it's going to be an attraction for us nationally. We've had a lot of changes. If I can have Captain Owens. Captain Owens, can you please stand and be Captain Owens, now Major Owens, bowing. He used to be captain of animal services, and I was remiss in not getting my children a puppy while he was there, but he is now over here at Precinct 2, and he is our major, and he's following significant leadership that we had in Major Hamilton, who's now moved to Special Ops, and many of you know Major Adcock. Well, he was here, he was Captain Adcock, then Major Adcock, and now he's Deputy Chief Adcock. Oh, we also can't forget Stuart Van Hooser. Okay, so I just want to tell you, we've had 2 captains then become majors that have gone on to be deputy chief who have served here in Precinct 2. So I just want to let you know there might be a little bit of a path you're being set up for, all right? So, amen. Okay, when it comes to fire, we've had a decreasing number of incidents, but we have had 4 fire fatalities this year, unfortunately. We have 2 fire stations which are underway at 2 new fire stations, and the work is underway at Station 1 and Station 7. Public safety, just a great job in community outreach with a number of programs. Public services, I can't say enough. I cannot go through all of it today, unfortunately, in the interest of time, but I do want to recognize our efforts with Keep Cobb Beautiful. They basically swept the state of Georgia, Keep Georgia Beautiful event. Everyone was getting awards that day. From our director, was basically Director of the Year. Even Commissioner Cupid got an award for being elected official of the year. And this is some of the work that they do, and just some of the awards and things that we've done here in District 4. We've started a Green Business Award, and I believe Wellstar is here. I saw Ashley. We gave Wellstar an award for just being a strong partner and caring about your presentation to our community. And that's very important to us for all the work that we're trying to do, that businesses, if they're doing a good job with landscaping, having a strong footprint, an attractive footprint here, we want to recognize them. So please let us know, and we can spread those awards around. Libraries, thank you from residents to those of you in the business community that came out when we passed our budget last year. To me, it was just a crying shame for us to be one of the most educated counties in the state of Georgia, and kids could not go to the libraries in some of our facilities on Friday, nor on Sundays if they had a project. So we talk about inequity. You know, if I lived in a community where there was a Barnes & Noble and I could take my kids to that, or, you know, what's the equivalent to our Encyclopedia Britannicas we used to have growing up, but your parents have some access to something like that, you know? It's okay if you can't access a library, but there's some children, they do not even have the benefit of having a laptop, or if they have a computer, their Wi-Fi is spotty. Not everywhere has, you know, the best signals here. So our libraries are a hallmark of, it should be a hallmark of education here. And the fact that Cobb County has come so far to tout so much, but we were just getting some basic things, I think, a bit skewed, was very troubling for me. Immediately coming in, and year after year after year after year. And I think this is one thing that we got right. At least three out of 5 of us got right last year. Elections, Riverside Epi Center, they host our early voting here, and senior services. Again, this is another thing which we clearly did not get right. And I see our representative here from senior services, and we instituted senior service fees. This is how, okay, maybe I should close this. This is a brief diatribe. So I am a Democrat on a board of Republicans, and it's assumed that the Republicans are just, we're conservative, we're a Republican county, we have Republican elected officials, we want to be tight. But sometimes we are so tight and conservative to the point where it makes dollars for us, but you wonder if it does make sense. And here is one thing where we are charging the most vulnerable people of our communities to come into our facilities that we're saying is a safeguard for you so that we can make sure you're okay. We want you to come to our facility so we know someone is checking on you and you have healthy relationships, but we're making you pay to do it. And then while it's very difficult, and I'm in the space of a business community, this is the way I walk into when we talk about business incentives, when we talk about the money that we give to very large organizations, and we're giving money away to say, come to Cobb. And those who are here in Cobb are having to pay to make a way. And this is something that, this is not a business issue. I had to realize that. And I was very concerned about my votes on Tuesday. This is not a business issue. This is a Board of Commissioners leadership issue. We're the ones, we are the check and balance. We don't owe it to anyone. This is not the residents' fault. It's not the residents' fault that they moved here and that they're conservative. It is on us to be responsible and to weigh all of those things, to make the strong business decisions, to make Cobb County work for everyone. And I'm sorry to say, just in my past 6 years, I feel like sometimes just the weight of the world is on me because I cannot understand to be in the midst of so much plenty and to see so much lack. And not just services to the poor, but services to all people. If we're going to talk about Cobb County is good and growing for all, it has got to be good and grow for all. And it takes partnership. And it takes understanding, and it takes seeing there is a business community as much as there is a residential community, and there's a government, but we're all here together. And if you see me, sometimes I think people must see when I go on that dais that I must have all kind of horns and bells and whistles, like I feel like I'm like the town friar or the town clown, because I am sitting there and I'm trying my best to balance all of your issues. I'm trying to balance all of them. And for it, I take criticism from those that don't have. For it, I take criticism from the businesses that do. And for it, I get written up in the paper when I come across differently. And for it, I'm alienated by my peers when I sit on that dais. And for it, I will still work for everyone every day, because that's what I'm called to do. I don't want to be that way. I don't want to be that way. I see my husband here. We've been scrambling. Sorry, I can't even finish. My husband and I have been scrambling just to make it today, just to get here. Because we carry so much. And I carry a lot, because this is not only my heart for this community in Cobb County, this is my heart for my children, this is my heart for my community. If I can help anyone, I will help anyone. Anyone. I can't tell you the level of frustration. I just found a missing person in my neighborhood 3 days ago, and somebody put, Commissioner Cupid found her. I didn't find her because I was a commissioner. I found her because she went knocking on every door in my neighborhood. When she came to my house, she asked for my help. And for some reason, my car couldn't start that day. That was the only reason I was there, to help her. When I went to put her in my car to find out how I can help her, my neighbors drove in my driveway and said, Commissioner, are you okay? I said, yes, I'm fine. Do you know that we have her face on Nextdoor? They thought that she was up to no good. So they were circulating stories about how she was there to rob everyone's home. This was a 15-year-old child out in 30-degree weather, no coat on. It was freezing that day. You don't get lost where I live in my neighborhood. You gotta be I thought she was in danger. It was Super Bowl weekend. I thought maybe with all the trafficking, was this young lady being trafficked? I put her in my car. When I came back out of town, I talked to her mom, and I helped that mom. I told that mom where I drove her. When I took the girl, I didn't feel comfortable about it, but I knew she needed to get out of my neighborhood. I knew she had no business being there. I got the license plate for the car. I gave it to the mom. The mom found her daughter right where she was taken. But it hurts my heart because I think, how cold have we come? How cold have we come? And people look at it, oh, it's the businesses that feel that way. It's those that have. This is my neighborhood. I told you, start a home community. How much do we have that a child would have their back turned on? And sometimes these schools see it every day. They can't turn their back on these kids. They're serving every day. For anyone who supports a child or sees a child, we've got to see that as all of our imperative. So I come back to Craig Cupid. Because we are how we are, and I am how I am, I was so nervous when I walked in this room today. I didn't know how I was going to do it, because I will try to do anything and everything I can to help. I thought my husband was going to work when he got dressed up today. I'm trying to help him get out the door and do what he has to do. And just to be here, to be in the right frame of mind, to be able to present to you, I can't tell you, sometimes I feel like I need a high five just when I step in the room, for all that you carry. And for those of you who have a child or a parent or parents that you're taking care of, my parents are, my assistant is taking care of her, a lot of you are. We all have our lumps in life. We cannot be so cold as to not recognize our humanity. We just cannot. And if we have, we've come a little too far. That is why I'm here as a commissioner. For anything, there's so much more I want to share. I was going to highlight all the businesses that pick up the phone when I call, that come and initiate things, all the community members who go into their pockets to take out money to help somebody in need, and who still see what they can do for District 4. We are really all in this together. And even if you're working with those that don't, remember, just Valentine's Day, remember that heart. Give somebody a benefit of the doubt to do maybe a little bit more, and to give them a little bit more than they give you. Even if they judge you, judge them just a little bit less, to do the work that has to get done. Because there is a lot of work that has to get done. This was not how I wanted to end it, but if I want to inspire anyone, it is with all of our business savvy, with all of our accolades, with all of our charges, with all of our imperatives. Let's do it with our whole heart. Let's do it in service. And I assure you, the same stories that we heard from those women that came and spoke at the Board of Commissioners meeting, who poured their hearts out, who served our country, who've lost children out of stress, whose babies try to do schoolwork and go to bed with rats infested, with mold in their homes. Those who have ceilings that cave in while they're sleeping, those that have no air, those whose homes have no refrigerator, those in the cold whose homes have no heat, who live right here in Cobb County, and who I know whose stories are not just here off of Riverside Parkway, but in all of Cobb County. Let us have enough humanity. Let us have enough humanity to champion any policy that will bring anybody to parity here in Cobb County. And if there's one crazy person out there on that Board of Commissioners dais that will help you do it, I will. I have been doing it, and I will continue to do it. Thank you so much for your time today.